Hey, what's going on YouTube? Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope you guys are doing really well. So here we are. Want to say hi first off, give everybody a few extra minutes or a few extra seconds at least to join in the room. We had a 2-minute timer on that one, so I know some people were bugged out by the 5-minute timer. So maybe we'll try to cut that back a little bit. We'll see how the retention holds up. So as you guys can see, today we're talking about going to prison and how and when to tell your children and how you should do that. We got Einstein joining us over here in the background, and I may sound a bit irritable today. I'm absolutely starving. I've been doing this new, I don't want to call it a diet because I really plan on kind of introducing it into how I go on forward, but it's like intermittent fasting where basically my last meal is around 8 o'clock at night, or the last time I eat anything is at 8 o'clock at night, and I don't eat anything until after 12 the next day. So I fast basically from 8 p.m. to minimum of noon, and as you can see it's 1 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything yet. So 0 calories from 8 p.m. to noon. So including coffee, can't have anything fun in your coffee. Put a sweet and low in there with 0 calories, but no sugar, no milk, none of the fun stuff. What's going on, Scott, Kimberly, Mr. Maryk, Source Irrelevant, and Robert E. Good afternoon. So guys, today is my 1-year anniversary. I've got all these crazy anniversaries, right? It seems like every other video is, how many fucking anniversaries does this guy have? I do push-ups and pull-ups. Actually, I got my pull-up bar right here, Mr. Maryk. So I do my push-ups, pull-ups, dips every day. Yeah, I'm not really too big of a fan of weights. Because in prison, you know, there wasn't any weights, and I was able to get in really good shape without weights. So pull-ups, push-ups, dips, squats, sit-ups, things like that. But eating has never been my biggest. I've always had an issue with. I love to eat. I love comfort food, so I love to eat breads and pizzas. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a different video. So today is my 1-year my 1-year anniversary from seeing my kids for the first time when I got released from federal prison. I went over 2 years without seeing my children from the time that I went into prison to the time I got out. About 2.5 years not seeing my kids, which was the longest stretch I had ever gone. And we have it on video, and when we come back from this source, I will answer your question on how many push-ups do you do every day. So here is a little video clip from when I got to see my kids. And some of you may have seen this video already, as a year ago I posted I think it was called Kids Reunion, or my reunion with my kids, or something to that effect. But this is the actual video of me seeing my children for the first time in over 2.5 years. I flew to New York, and I met them in the hotel lobby of the hotel that I was staying at. So here you go. Check it out, and dry those eyes because it might get a little teary.
Daniel, are you nervous to see your kids for the first time in 2.5 years? Are you gonna cry already? We're not even there. So how are you feeling right now? One word.
Nervous.
What are you gonna say right now? Who are you gonna grab first?
I don't know. God, I'm not gonna recognize if I walk right past him.
He was crying before you left the room.
I can't tell you guys, the time went by so fast. My kids are 16 and 14, and like I said, it's been 2.5 years since I've seen them. And before that, the longest I've ever been away from them is, weeks, a couple of months here and there, and that's it. So I'm looking really forward. They're going to be coming up here in a couple of months. There you go. That was last year. seeing my children. I was in New York at this time of year, and I'll be going up there again soon to see them. And they've been here since then, so I've actually seen them twice now. They came here for a couple of weeks over summer vacation, but it's clearly hard. You know, I live in Spokane, Washington. They live in New York City, and there's a lot of reasons people ask me, well, why don't you move to New York? Well, it's the obvious, throw it out there. You know, financially surviving in New York is a struggle. And it's a struggle for my ex-wife and my two children right now. And she's doing a great job with them. Our relationship has gotten way better since my release from prison. I would say it's probably better now than my relationship with my ex-wife has ever been. And partly is that's me taking responsibility and owning up to what I need to do and helping her take care of the kids as much as possible financially. But it's hard not seeing them, and I'm glad I couldn't hear the sound on that video, because every time I watch that video with the music, that was edited by my friend Shayna, who does some of our editing and also does a lot of our writing. She edited that video for me before I really knew how to edit well, and it was just insane. Anyway, so I see Source, you said you haven't seen your kids. You saw them for the first time in 14 months. You know, it's really rough, especially when you're used to seeing your kids. Some people don't relate. Some people have been out of their children's lives for a very long time, either by choice or by, you know, parental issues. They don't get along. Maybe the spouse won't let you see the children. Whatever it is, there's always an issue that arises. But I've been fortunate to be able to maintain a really good relationship with my children prior to going to prison, during my prison sentence, and life after prison. Has been a blessing to have them by my side going through this. We see so many people going into the prison system that don't have any support, and it can be really, really rough, especially when they have children that are being left behind. Source irrelevant. You raised me. Yep. I know the feeling. I live in Arizona. My kids are in LA. Yeah, so it's rough. Hey, Tamara, thanks for sharing. This day I'm looking forward to. Yes, I know. Yeah, I imagine, you know, Tamara's, she's a mother. Her son is in prison, and she cannot wait for him to get returned back to her, so, you know, she can have one of those Hallmark moments. And it is a Hallmark moment. I don't care what anybody says. It's a very overwhelming, emotional feeling when you see your children for the first time, or your parents for the first time, or whatever your situation is. Great video, Dan. When were your kids mad at you for going to prison or understanding about it? I definitely think, and that's partly what we want to talk about in this video, is how you tell your kids, when you tell your kids, because I think it's important for you guys to have a clear plan on this. And I'm not here to judge or tell you you're doing it wrong or you're doing it right. I can only tell you from my own experience and from the many of experiences of other inmates that I'd met in prison and out of prison on different ways that people have done things. So were my children mad? When I first told them, it was probably about, I would say, a little more than a year before I went to prison. It was when the investigation became real and I really understood there was a strong possibility of the likelihood that I was going to go to prison for a period of time. At this point, I did not know how much time. This was before my plea was accepted. I didn't know what was on the table for me. I knew I was looking at a 52-count indictment. I knew that if I went to trial and lost, I was looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 possible years. So I knew there was a vast possibility of from a short amount of time to a very long period of time. And I was under the impression that it would be somewhere between 3 and 7 years. That was how much time I was preparing them for, because I really didn't know. I didn't know much about RDAP. I didn't know anything about halfway houses. I didn't understand good time. There was no rdapdan channel to go check out that had like totally awesome, cool, relevant information. Just saying. rdapdan, you know? Anyway, before, there wasn't really anywhere to go get this information. Yeah, there's a couple of prison consultants out there, but they don't really give you as much information as they do give you a purpose to call them to pay for the information. Pick up what I'm putting down there. So I decided to have the conversation with my children. And at first, when I first told them, I was like, hey, I screwed up. And I wasn't really taking full responsibility. I was kind of saying, you know, the government was out to get me, and, you know, there was people saying I did things that I didn't really do, because I didn't want to change their views and their outlooks of, Superman dad. And it took me a while to come to terms with that, because they were so confused. They're like, well, why would somebody put you in jail if you didn't do anything wrong? So I was constantly dealt with that question. And it took me a long time to come to terms. Actually, not until I got into prison until I came to terms with, to tell them that, hey, I really did screw up. These are the mistakes that I made, and these are the consequences that I was paying. But when I first told them, they were I would say they were shocked, to the point where, like, they didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to respond. They're just quiet. They didn't really ask many questions. They didn't ask me what I thought about prison. They didn't ask me if I was scared. They were just kind of curious, but they didn't know how to approach it. It took several weeks, if not several months, for them to actually start opening up and asking me questions. It took a couple of months before they actually broke down and cried. And that was when it really became hard, because now you're seeing the actual effect of your choices and decisions and how it's affecting, your loved ones, your friends, your family, your wives. But children are not at an age where they're really able to comprehend that type of stuff. So once they start to comprehend it, the realization of our dad's going to go to prison becomes very overwhelming and dramatic. And it has a series of ripple effect consequences on your children. It affects their social life, affects their school life, it affects their life with you. They don't know how to react around you. They don't know what questions to ask you. So the best advice I could give somebody on my own personal situation and scenarios on what I went through are to be open and honest with your children. Obviously, age is going to play a factor. If your kids are 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, you've got to be able to gear if they're able to understand this and comprehend this. But if your children are entering early teenage years, or they're 9, 10, 11, getting ready to go into that maturity, that next level of maturity, you got to understand that there's internet, there's children at school, could be maybe there's a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend in the picture that wants to throw salt in the game. And not that any of that ever happened with me, but those situations do arise. You want to be in control of how your kids find out. You want to be there to tell them. And the sooner you tell them, the reason why it's better to tell them sooner is it does take children a minute to process what you're telling them. You might tell them, hey, I'm facing federal prison time or state prison time or whatever it is. You might tell them today, but they may not really have that sink in and process that for several weeks or several months later. So for those people that decide to wait till the last minute, like, hey, I'm going to prison next month or next week or in 3 days, your kids are just in shock. Now you're in prison. Now they process it, they break down, and you're not there to deal with it. You're in prison. They're lashing out in school. They're getting into fights. They're getting bad grades. They're not doing good at home. They're shutting down. You're not there to be able to explain these series of events that you have caused in their life. And once I got into RDAP, I really came to terms with that, because it was something that was very much talked about. There was a lot of people in RDAP, and you guys may be going through this in your mind right now. Let me know if anybody is relating to this. There's people in prison, in RDAP, in prison, whatever, that were actually telling their kids they were away at school, they were away at work, they were in the military. They weren't telling their children the truth. Now, some of these kids were 3 years old, 4 years old, so okay, you can rationalize that. But when your kids are a little bit older, when they're old enough to go on the internet, they're old enough to start making decisions, basic decisions, they're old enough to know the truth, because if they find it out from somebody else, there's a good chance that they could be upset. It could really break trust issue or build trust issues. It could cause additional barriers later on in life. It may not affect you now in here and now in that moment, but it could ripple over into when you get out of prison. So when I decided to really start talking to my kids, they became more open about, well, what's prison like? A lot of basically the same questions most adults have, but they were able to start asking it. Not to mention, when you're in prison on the phone, if you decide you're going to talk to your children, if you're telling them, hey, I'm at school or I'm at work or I'm in the army, every couple of minutes, a recording comes over the phone while you're in prison, and it says, this call is from a federal inmate. This call is from a federal prison. This call is from a federal prison. Just shoots out into the middle of your phone call. You don't know when it's coming. You can't time it. And your kids might hear that and they don't say anything about it because it's weird to them. But that is going to they're going to process that in their mind. Why was it saying this is coming from a federal prison? Does my dad work at a prison? Is my dad in prison? They probably know more than you're letting them know, but because you're making it such a taboo subject, they don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So all you might be teaching your kids is to not trust anybody, to not trust the government. Not to say that our government is all good, but we also can't say it's all bad. I mean, there's plenty of people that have never been to prison. There's plenty of people that don't know where a jail is. There's plenty of people that are never going to go to prison because they don't allow themselves to fall into these circumstances and make these choices that people like me and some of you have made. So we can't just blame the system because that's an easy cop-out. That's an easy way to escape what we've done. Instead, you can address the issues with the government and how easy it is to get roped up and into a situation. And that's all the more reason why you need to live a clear, honest, healthy, conscious-free life. You can't tiptoe through life thinking about, is this going to get me in trouble? You have to be able to evaluate consequences of our actions. And some of the consequences of our actions potentially could lead us into a situation like prison or getting arrested or getting in car accidents. Irrationally acting, you're on the road, somebody gives you the bird, somebody cuts you off, and you're beaming after them because they pissed you off. You got to learn how to focus on what could happen from you doing that. And if you're willing to live with those consequences, then by all means, do what you got to do. I'm not willing to go back to prison. So I do my best to focus on consequences that I feel could lead me back to prison. There's still days that are struggles. There's still things that I have to work on. But every day is a progress into the right direction for my life. So I'm going to read some of these comments here. Let's see what we got here. We have, I'm worried about the youngest not going to remember me. My older kids laugh about it. How long are you going to prison for, Molinesque? I think you told us before. I forgot what your sentence was. Kimberly, kids are very, very forgiving. Kids are forgiving. But don't use that as an excuse to just constantly make mistakes either. Just like your kids are going to learn. They're a product of what we do. So if you're constantly doing the wrong thing and saying you're sorry for it, they're going to grow up thinking it's okay to fuck up as many times as you want and just say, I'm sorry. At some point, sorry doesn't mean anything, right? Because our actions speak louder than words. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you keep having negative consequences and you keep saying you're sorry, but you're not creating new patterns to break the old habits, whether it be alcohol, drugs, cheating, gambling, it could be working too much, and it's there's got to be balance in our life across the board. I'm not going to sit here and say you should never have a drink or you should never smoke cigarettes or you should never pick up a joint. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you that if you can't do it in moderation, it might be a problem for you. If you can handle things in moderation, it's not affecting your day-to-day, it's not affecting your social life, it's not affecting your family life, it's not affecting what careers you're trying to do. You're not dumbing down and sitting in front of the Todd Hansen. You got Todd. I just stopped here. Is this Todd Hansen's wife in the room? It is Todd Hansen's PC. Thanks, Dan, for everything. Watching you right now. It is popping on Todd Hansen's. Hey, how is? I sent Todd an email. I haven't heard from him in a minute. Is he doing okay? We'll get back to this conversation in a minute, guys. But I'm going to talk to Diana. Yes, Diana. Diana, great to see you. Let me ask you, Diana. Does Todd have video chat over at? He's at Lompoc, right? Does he have video chat there? I got to poke my dog to make sure he's got a pulse. Do you like biscuits? You want to go pee-pee outside? He's got a pulse because he definitely likes to go pee-pee outside. He's doing real good. Great. Tell him to send me an email. I would love to do a video chat with him. And my software here has the ability to port in the video chat where I could actually show people how Todd is doing and give an actual update on Todd's life in the prison system. But Diana, thank you for joining me. It's the first time I've seen you on here since you guys brought him in. So thank you for joining. it'd be great to have you come on sometime if you want to talk about what's going on. But those of you that don't remember, I've got several videos on Todd Hansen. He was one of our first clients who actually he used other prison consultants before he actually found me, and found me several months before things were really getting too serious, and we're able to do a lot of mitigating factors on his situation that really put Todd into a much better situation. He still got a handful of time, but not nearly what he was looking at. In the scenario that we're hoping that Todd's going to be done in 5 to 6 years, back home in the loving arms of the Diana there. So Diana, thank you again for joining us. It's awesome. He's doing 8 years. Okay. Has he gone in for any RDAP interviews or anything yet? I'm sure that's still a little bit premature for him, but we're hoping he does less than 8 years with RDAP Halfway House Good Time. Wow, that's really fun. I saw Todd Hansen. I'm like, wait a minute. It didn't register for quite the moment there. But so a lot of the questions we get from people are, how do I tell my kids? What do I tell my kids? What did you tell your kids? That's what a lot of people ask me, and that's always been a major concern. And that was a huge fear of mine. Don't get me wrong. Going into this situation, when it became somewhat real, and I knew that I had to tell my kids, I wasn't like, all right, I'm going to go tell my kids. I mean, I was terrified. I didn't know how to bring it up. They knew something was wrong, because I was like, guys, I got to talk to you. It's kind of serious, and stumbling and stuttering and tearing up, and but what I also noticed is there was a lot of guilt that I had, and I was displaying that, and I was turning it into about me, and I wanted to do what was going to make me feel best. And what ended up making me feel best in the end is taking my feelings and emotions out of it and doing what was best for my kids in that situation, and what was fair and respectable to them. And they deserve to know the truth. They deserve to realize that people do make mistakes, and people can overcome mistakes, but you got to start off on the right foot. You got to start off on being truthful. So yeah, it's been a struggle. And now my children are 17. My youngest one's going to be 16 real soon, and my older daughter's graduating high school this year. So I get to go see her graduate. These are all things that I wondered about in prison, or before going to prison. Am I going to be out when my daughter graduates? How much time am I going to get? What you guys are going through right now is by far the roughest part of the entire situation that you are going to go through. I promise. If you're going to a camp, you're going to a low, and you're getting less than a decade of time, you do have a surrender. You do have a release date. There will be a period of point where you're out of prison. Some of you may miss graduation. Some of you may miss birthdays, and you may miss the passing of a loved one. There's things that are going to happen to you in prison that are going to be part of the consequence in addition to your prison sentence. So you have to be prepared to deal with these uphill battles. You got to be prepared to deal with these hurdles. And the best way to do that is to really get real with yourself right now and start applying tools in your life while you still have the opportunity, and then realize when things get tough, that's when the real test starts. How do you apply these tools? How do you act when things really actually get tough? Are you able to overcome dwelling negative thoughts when things are really rough? Are you able to stop your mind in its tracks and identify and stop and become here and now and go, man, I'm dwelling again. Why am I doing this? Time to go do something positive. Call rdapdan. Go to the gym. These are things that you need to be able to do. Get yourself a pull-up bar and hang it on your wall and do pull-ups when you're feeling a little stressed out or you can't sleep. This pull-up bar gets broken out at 2 in the morning sometimes. I wake up, a little bit of anxiety. I do sometimes think I have a little bit of PTSD, where I do struggle sleeping sometimes and anxiety arises. But what I realize is I can't just fight through it. I got to get up and do something. So I'll get up, go get a glass of water. Sometimes I'll maybe check a quick email, do some pull-ups, do some who asked me that question? Source asked me how many push-ups I do a day. It ranges. It depends on when I start them and what I'm doing that day, but it ranges between at least like 150 to like sometimes 500 push-ups. So I would say an average 200 to 300 push-ups a day, and I'll usually do them in sets of, and I do it with my pull-ups. So if I'm doing 200 to 300 push-ups a day, I'm also doing 200 to 300 pull-ups and dips a day. I've got an actual maybe I'll show it to you guys. On this pull-up bar, when it hangs, there's an actual dip bar that clicks onto this, and it hangs down from your door jamb, so you can do dips as well. So it's really cool. But yeah, so yeah, you know, fortunately I don't have any room for a heavy bag, and I am getting ready to join a CrossFit class, just because it has some of the additional things that, you know, my gyms don't have here and I don't have in my house, obviously. But I've got in that closet right there, I've got kettlebells, I've got ab wheels, and that's really all I do. A lot of jump roping. I tried burpees and almost killed myself. It just takes practice, man. You just got to keep trying. You know, you just got to, you know, start off. Once you get comfortable with push-ups, you know, burpees, push-ups, even pull-ups, dips, it's all core. You know, when you see people swinging on a pull-up bar, that means they haven't really formed their core yet. When you tighten up your core, your push-ups get better, your pull-ups get better, your dips get better. I mean, it changes everything. And best way to start strengthening up your core, guys, just do planks. If you don't know where plank is, Google it. Starting to do planks. You know, I do planks all the time too. Even though I don't have a six-pack anymore because my eating habits have not been the best, I still have an amazingly strong core, which I'm really excited because I've seen a lot of guys that have gotten out of prison and really, really let themselves go. And it's like, I was very fearful of that because in prison, you've got all this extra time. You know, you got a half-mile track 30 feet from where you're sleeping, so you can go walk the track, and every 50 feet, 50 yards around the track, there's somewhere to stop and do pull-ups or dips because they have these stationary pull-up bars scattered all around the outside fitness area. So it's almost impossible not to get into fitness in prison. You have to try not to get in shape in prison. The real world, the free world, not quite as easy because you have to stop what you're doing and go make time. You got to stop your busy day. You got to find time in between work, in between kids, in between cleaning and cooking. So that's why I have my pull-up bar, and I usually have it hanging right up behind me on that door, but it looks silly in the videos, and I can't close the door with it there. So, but that's what I just do throughout the day. I'll just jump up and do, you know, pull-ups. And before going to prison, I couldn't really do pull-ups. You know, I could do 10. You know, now I could get up and I could do 50 pull-ups straight with great form if I wanted to. And it's good to know that going on 40 years old, I'm no longer of the mindset of, well, I'm too old to do those things, or I'm too old to do that. You know, burpees are still a big part of my life. I still do burpees, you know, jump burpees. And I couldn't do a burpee before I went to prison. Didn't even know what the fuck a burpee was. But prison mentality is a different world, and there's good and bad in prison. And you can choose to focus on the positivities of prison and let that take what's good from prison home with you and incorporate that into your free world life. Yeah, we definitely got to get Todd on here. So, hey, Dan, nice to see you here. Got to go. All the best to you and your viewers. Well, thank you, Diane. And if you're still watching, definitely let Todd know that we're thinking about him, and I'll shoot him another email now that I spoke to you, see how he's doing. Dan, whatever happened to Big Herc? What do you mean? What happened to him? He's still. I think he's still going strong, isn't he? He's got like his YouTube channel is really popping off there. He's getting some really good traction. You know, I made the video about Big Herc because I didn't like that video he posted about white collar criminals, but I have nothing but respect for. I mean, he's making a living off of a YouTube channel. So hey, good for him. Sent workouts and yoga meditation. You sent that to Ian? Oh, for someone new to working out, many reps of each exercise should be doing. For someone new to work, you do as many. Okay, you set yourself a goal, Mr. Maryk. You set yourself a goal and then you stick to it. So that might mean different things, right? Well, so I do 10 sets. That my goal is to try to do 10 sets of everything. So it depends what I'm doing. So let's say today I'm going to do supersets. So whenever I don't just do pull-ups. I'll do my pull-ups. So let's say I'm doing 10 sets of 10. So I'll do 10 pull-ups, 10 dips, 10 push-ups. Take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute break and then back at it. Now, you may get up there and you may only be able to do 5 or 6 pull-ups. So you drop back down, you count to 10, you go back up, you do another 5 or 6. You make sure you're getting your money. That's where in prison you'll hear get your money, because if you're there and if you're in a workout car or a workout group, whatever you want to call it, we call them cars, and that's what most prisons call them, different workout cars. They also have race cars where different minorities focus on these cars. That's not as much in camps and lows. So in camps and lows, what's popular is workout cars. Different workout cars have different expectations. Some workout cars will let you fuck off and do things half-ass and let your form be bad because they don't really know what to do. Other workout cars, they won't let you in that car unless you know what you're doing. You have to be able to hang with them, and if you can't finish, it's okay. If you got to stop for a second, they don't want to see you give up. They want to see you work till failure, count to 10, get back up and get your money. Because that's how you're going to get stronger and get better and be able to push yourself beyond that barrier. And it's a mental barrier, I promise. Yes, it's physical too. There's only so much you can do starting off. But what happens is it gets hard, you start losing your wind, you start feeling dizzy, you start feeling nauseous, and people want to quit. I've seen it happen a million times in a million different cars. People just quit, or they don't show back up to the next class. They come to one class and you never see them again. And then like, oh yeah, I got busy. Like they make excuses, like the same bullshit you hear in the free world. So you have to dedicate yourself to it and push through it. So if your goal is to do 10 sets of 10, let's say you're just going to do pull-ups today. You're not going to do any push-ups. You're not going to do any dips. That's 100 pull-ups. You do your first set of 10, you might breeze through it. Second set of 10, okay, you might feel a little bit of struggle on 8 or 9. Your third set, you get to 5 or 6 and you're fatiguing and you can't go any further. You drop down, count to 10, do another 5 or 6. The point is get your 100 pull-ups total. No matter how much time it takes you in between, it's okay to take a rest. You want to focus on your numbers and you want to focus on your form. If your form is getting sloppy and you're shaking your legs all over the place, you look like a fish out of water, stop for a second, let your muscles regroup, and go back at it, because that's how you hurt yourself. Your body should be straight. Your head should be looking straight up to your chin. You don't need to do all this crazy stuff where you're going above the bar. You pull right to your chin and then back down. Slow, smooth, fluent motions. And I could not do any of this going into federal prison. Now, when I got out of federal prison, I was probably in 50%, if not more, better shape than I am right now. I still do all of this, but it's definitely not as easy. I've went from 180 pounds to 195, almost 200 pounds. So I put weight back on, eating real food, not working out as much, not walking. I mean, I was literally walking the track, I would say on an average day, 10 to 15 miles on an average day. And some of you might be going, yeah, right, bullshit. But that's common. If you're in prison and there's a track and there's a lot of outdoor time, you're not just walking the track for exercise. You and your buddy are just walking in this circle for hours talking about whatever. So you're getting exercise by default. You're listening to your music, you're walking the track, it's relaxing, you feel a little bit more free. So it's easy to get 10, 15 miles in. I wasn't a big runner. I would run 1 or 2 laps, but I noticed with a lot of the guys that were these long-term runners, like marathon runners, they looked like their muscles were just gone. They burn so much fat that they start eating their muscles with all of that continuous running. I think it's burning your metabolism too fast to where you can't fuel your muscles. And these guys, like if you look at runners online, like actual runners, not sprinters, not quarter-mile runners, but long-distance runners, these guys that run 10, 15, 20 miles a day, they don't look, I mean, they look healthy as far as how skinny they are, but it's not the look that I wanted. Walking is the best. That's what Source of Relevance just said. Walking is the absolute best. As long as once you walk beyond 30 minutes, typically if you're walking at a brisk pace, if you're one of these slow ass walkers where your feet are dragging, you might as well just lay down and take a nap. But if you're focusing on your walking and your breathing and you walk around tightening your core, your abs will start to get sore. And once you break 30 minutes, you start to burn calories, you start to burn fat. So once you get into an hour or 2 of walking, you burnt some serious calories. So I was eating a lot in prison as well. 2 to 7, I don't know, is Source of Relevance saying 27 or 2.7. But anyway, 2 miles a day is great. I walk my neighborhood sometimes. We got snow now. I don't know if you guys can see it. You won't be able to see it unless I bring the camera over there. But we got snow yesterday, so we got snowfall. So that obviously, that deters me from wanting to go outside and walk, I'm not a big fan of the snow. I thought I was. It's pretty. It's nice to look at. But yesterday I was actually driving down to Gonzaga College. I'm hoping to be doing a speaking event with them in the next couple of months, talking to law students about ethics, explaining to them that really good people can make mistakes, go to prison. A lot of the stuff I talk to you guys about that people don't understand unless they're going through it. So we're going to go try to break this down to the young minds who are going to be our future attorneys. So hopefully in the future, when these people are dealing with us in the future, they'll have a different outlook and a different way of approaching us. So yeah, walking's great, but exercise, and I'll tell you, this diet that I've been on, a lot of people are like, oh, you're missing breakfast, the most important meal of the day. I used to believe that too. I'm no longer a believer of that because I've been doing this now for about 3 weeks. I've lost a couple of pounds doing it, but more importantly, my energy levels have risen. I feel great. My mind feels clear. I get up in the morning. I'm ready to work. I do things. I go out and exercise early in the morning. I'll do my pull-ups, and I just feel way better. And I actually learned about this from watching an interview with Terry Crews. Those of you who does the Old Spice commercials, the actor Terry Crews, big giant black dude. Well, that's his eating regimen is he stops eating, I forgot what he says, between 8 and 10 at night and doesn't eat again until 2 in the afternoon the next day. So he fasts that entire time. 0 calories enter his body, just a lot of water. And then eating healthy on top of that, telling you guys, it's for me, it's working. And I've been doing more research on it, and I'm really enjoying this type of lifestyle. And I'm usually not super hungry in the morning anyway. I usually eat out of like habit or boredom. Or, hey, let's go to breakfast. And you go to breakfast and you eat this 5-course bacon and eggs and hash browns and toast, and you walk out of there just feeling super heavy for the rest of the day. I've cut that part out over the last almost month now, and I've just I've felt amazing results from it. That I'm really hungry right now because it's 1:40, so I'm definitely hungry. So we will be eating after this video, but I'm going to go eat something good. And when you're waiting that long to eat, you really want to enjoy your first meal. So you're making something that's super healthy and super tasty. And do 20 sets of 12 push-ups. There you go, man. Dan, please check your email when you can about the winner of your giveaway. I sure will. And if you're talking about the giveaway that was a couple of months ago, I'm not sure, but I'll check the email and respond. The winner was, I forgot, he was a cop. I can't, go figure. A cop won the, if that's what you're talking about on the giveaway. Walk and sprint, catch up with my girlfriend while I'm doing my push-ups. Yeah, getting prepared for prison, guys. There's mental preparation. There's what you're doing with your free time. There's what you're doing to mitigate your sentence, how you're preparing with your personal narratives, how you're preparing with your character reference letters, making sure you're prepared for your pre-sentence interview on the report that they're going to create that is going to be a recommendation to the judge on what type of sentence that you're going to make. These are all super important, but equally important should be your health as well. Because you're going to enter into this place where health is really an important factor to a lot of inmates, and it can take some time to get up to their level. Even if you're preparing now, it takes some time to prepare for that level. So just getting yourself ready and understanding what that routine is going to like. I've actually posted a video on here. It was what was it? Dan's plyometrics or something. I hadn't been out of prison for too long. I think I was still in the halfway house, and we'll try to find it here while I'm talking to you guys. It was basically almost an identical workout of something that we would do in prison, and it's a short workout, super high intensity, and you are just wiped out. So I'll show you this. I'll show you guys this video. And if you're looking to get started into what type of prison workouts you can do, I would recommend trying to do what I do in this video and just start off slow and work yourself up to it. But your goal should be being able to do what I did in the video. I'm not even sure I could do what I did in the video now, to be honest, but let's go find it real quick. And I'll post it in the room because I'm that kind of guy, Plus I like to watch myself. Kind of a egomaniac. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe I'm not, but who cares, right? RDAP Dan. Let's see here. See if it comes up. Oh, we got a couple of them. All right, so I'll give them both to you. So we'll get this one. Let's grab the link. Okay, so we got this one. Here you go. These are great workouts for you guys to try. There's one of them. And then the other one, this one was 1 year ago. This was one I did in my house with the actual pull-up bar and dip bar that I was just referring to. Ah, shit. There it is. And then there's this one. All right, so here's two for you guys. If you're trying to get prison fit, these are the workouts that we do in prison. These are identical to workouts that we did in prison, as a matter of fact. So go ahead and take a look at those. And as you'll see, I've put on a little bit of weight since then. But I'm nowhere near as out of shape as I was prior to going to prison. So this is, I'm comfortable with this. Comfortable. Let's see. I recommend people should train before they go to prison. It can stop potential problems. Better shape you in, less likely you're not going to have problems going to a camp or a low. And I don't care how good a shape you're in. If you're getting into those kind of problems, numbers are the issue there. You definitely, I never got into shape for defending myself. I got into shape because I fell in love with the way it made me feel. So just keep about the winner if your giveaway a couple of months ago. I will check the email once I get off of this video, Joanne, and see exactly what you're referring to, and then I'll kindly respond. So what do you guys got going on for this Saturday? How many of you have children, and how many of you are really concerned with what you're going to tell them about going to federal prison? Man, I got a pimple forming right here, and no matter what, and as you guys know, I wear a little bit of makeup and powder for my videos because I am one shiny mofo. And this damn pimple on my nose, I doused it in rubbing alcohol last night, but man, look at that, it's like Rudolph. Yeah. The struggle to look beautiful. I've got pimples, and I'm balding like also on top of my head. I need to get some hair implants or something. Turning 40. It's like I can grow a fucking sweater on my back and my chest, but I can't grow hair on my head. Pretty soon it's going to probably start sprouting out of my ears. I'll never let that happen. I will shave and wax my body before I let my ears grow potatoes. We got any responses here? Who's got the children? Oh, well, county jails are different, source. In counties, yes, you deal with that type of stuff. But if you're going into prison camps, prison lows, federal side, you're not going to be dealing with that kind of stuff. But yeah, in a county setting, you definitely got to be prepared. Maybe Shelly can take up a collection for implants. Yes, Tamara, I get some hair plugs. There's got to be a pill or something in the next decade with all these damn serums that our government is able to produce. You would think they'd have like something you spray on your head and the hair just grows like it was when you were 14. 3 kids, 1 on the way. Yeah. And have you planned on how you're going to tell them yet? Or have you already told them? Or what are they expecting? Have you set realistic expectations? Because that's the big thing, guys, is what you tell them. How Rogaine doesn't work. I've tried it. I've tried Nioxin. I'm actually using Nioxin right now, and I've been using it for damn near a year, like clockwork. And just because I got so many bottles of it, because Shelly's a hairdresser and she's got her own little salon, so she gets crazy discounts on stuff. So she brings me home stuff all the time. But as you can see, I got this bald spot. I've done Rogaine pills, I've done sprays, I've done the shampoos, I've done it all. So that doesn't work. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, it's working. It's what do you call that? It's the you think it's working, but it's not, because you want to believe that it's working so much, and you're staring at your head every day that you start to lie to yourself. But it doesn't work. Older kids, like I said. Oh, yes, right. You did say that. So you told the older kids. And how old is the younger one again? Molinesque? I shaved my head before. My head is giant. You guys go back and look at some of my older videos when I first started doing YouTube, and look at my head. My girlfriend's like, don't shave your head again because you have a very funny shaped head. And I'm like, you know what? You're fucking right. I didn't realize, because I had a shaved head for so long because I was self-conscious about the bald spot. But I'm not self-conscious about it anymore. I'm going to embrace the bald spot. Spray paint on it, Dan. I've got stuff in there that it looks like cinnamon. You shake it on your hair. I use it for if I'm going to be out doing like public interviews or public speaking where cameras are going to be hitting me, so people don't lose focus on what I'm talking about, stare at my bald spot. But I got this, it's like hair fibers. It's like hair in a can, basically, but it's not paint. It sprinkles on your head and it clings to your fibers. It actually works really, really well, but it's a pain in the ass, and it it washes out. But I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the bald look, I looked a little thuggy, I think, when I was bald. And I think when I first got out of prison, I really did have like a little bit of thuggy mentality still in me. It was weird because I look back at my older videos and I was like, why the fuck was I wearing a wife beater? Why am I making YouTube videos wearing a wife beater, talking about helping people go to federal prison? It just, my look was a little bit different, and I've gotten back out of that, no longer hovering over my food, worrying about somebody, taking what's mine. I just try to, I try to joke about it now because it makes me feel comfortable. But Joan Rivers invented that stuff. Well, go Joan, because so far it's the only thing that is affordable, practical, and if you're going to be somewhere, a photo shoot or going to a special event and you want to look your best, then that stuff, it depends where you're bald. I mean, if you're bald, it needs some hair to cling to. I have hair there. It's just super paper thin. Mike Winters. Mike Winters is because you're fucking bald as fuck, Mike, and you gotta say that. But if you had the choice, if you wonder what you look like with a full head of hair, you would probably be like, yeah, I want to see what it looks like. But if I didn't have any hair and it was like my only choice was like a naked mole rat, I'd probably say, okay, I'm gonna embrace this and I'm gonna be the sexiest damn bald man I can be. But I don't have to be bald just yet, Mike. If you wait too long, forget it. If you're going to do transplants, do it now. Better results. I'm 40. I mean, how much younger am I going to get? I don't want to do, I'm not going to do transplants. I'm just kidding about that. I wouldn't go spend tens of thousands of dollars just to have hair. Now, if it was like a pill you could take or medicine or a shot and your hair could naturally start growing again, I'm all for that. But I'm not putting, I've seen people with hair plugs and they get these fucking scars on their head, and I'm not that concerned about it. I just like making fun of myself because it's fun. If you can't make fun of yourself, there's something wrong. We met with a group yesterday called Recovery Cafe. They got a big organization out of Seattle, Washington, and they've now spiraled it down here to Spokane, Washington. And it's pretty much a new program. And it's people that are in recovery, trying to live a sober life, and it could be anything: drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever. Getting out of prison, going into prison, living a rough life. They've got what's called Recovery Cafe, where it's an open forum for people to come into. The only requirement is you've had 24 hours, either 24 or 12 hours of sobriety. You can go there. They serve free meals. They hold classes, all kinds of really interesting, helpful, useful reentry type programs. And I went and met with the director down there yesterday before I went to Gonzaga. And we're going to be incorporating, hopefully, some really useful tools and techniques, RDAP style, into their program that they're already doing. And I feel very fortunate to be able to be a part of this early on, because I'm a firm believer that things that we can do to help each other. RDAP has changed my life in so many ways, and not RDAP, but the techniques behind RDAP, which are the same techniques a lot of different organizations and groups use. Cognitive thinking, focusing on your consequences, holding each other accountable, morning meetings, practicing humility. In RDAP, one of the biggest ways they practice humility is in the morning meeting. They have games, and a lot of those games require you to do some ridiculous, silly stuff. Stand up, sing little kid songs, dance around. You're in prison, and you're singing The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round, or singing your ABCs in a baby voice. It's embarrassing to do these things. It's humiliating to do these things, but you have to be able to be comfortable with humiliation, because there's going to be points and periods of our life where we're out in the free world and somebody does something that humiliates us or makes us feel embarrassed. And some of us don't know how to act when that happens. So we go to this defense where we act out possibly violently because we don't like somebody making fun of us. We don't like being humiliated. So we act out. We want to fight. We want to say things. We want to get hurtful. If you can be okay and comfortable in your own skin and make fun of yourself, if somebody else makes fun of you, you're going to realize what they're saying is not true, and it's not the end of the world, and you can be able to move on and not allow that to affect your moment, your mood, your day, your life. So that's why they practice these silly games in RDAP, which I didn't grasp at first. I was like, why are grown men standing up, standing on one leg, singing their ABCs in the best baby voice they can conjure? These were parts of games that I didn't understand, and this doesn't make sense to me, and it took a while for it to click. And now applying this in my real life, somebody says something like my girlfriend's brother. He's super witty, always one to throw a zinger at you, likes to throw little low blows, and the old me would feel myself getting verbally attacked and making me feel a certain way and reacting, wanting to make fun of him or wanting to dig deeper and throw a low blow and hurt him or hurt his ego. And what it was is realizing is nobody should be able to say something that makes me feel a certain way. I can't make any one of you feel a certain way. I can tell you all that you're a fucking idiot, you're stupid because you made these bad choices, you're going to prison, you look dumb in what you're wearing. If you choose to feel a certain way, that was your choice. You can either choose to allow what I say to affect you, or you can choose to not allow it to affect you. When we were little kids, we all heard that dumb saying, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me." Nah, nah, nah. We all remember that, but nobody applies that shit to their real life. Clearly, sticks and stones will break your bones, and words hurt so many fucking people that it's ridiculous. So many people get offended to the point where we're afraid to say what we really think to people because we're afraid to offend them. You shouldn't be afraid to offend somebody if what you're saying is coming from a good spot. If you're telling somebody something that you see that they're struggling with, and you're not condemning them for it, and you're not pointing your finger, and you're not coming at them in a certain way, but if you're doing it in the right tone, the right manner, and they react a certain way, hey, fuck them. You don't need those type of people in your life. You don't need those type of friends or family around you. To build healthy relationships, there's got to be active and assertive communication back and forth. I need to be able to tell you stuff. You need to be able to hear it. You need to be able to process it, and you need to be able to give me feedback. I need to be able to hear what you think and feel about me just the same. Lately we've seen, and I've deleted a lot of the stuff. I'm not one to go in and delete comments off of my videos, okay? But I will delete comments when I see that they're being done to generate spiteful, trying to hurt, trying to hate, whether it's against me or against somebody else. If somebody just says, hey, I think you're an idiot for going to prison. Okay, great. But look, I made so many mistakes in my past. I've ruined relationships, really good relationships, from my marriage to best friends to business associates. I've caused so much harm in my life to others, financial, emotional, whatever you want to call it, because of my bad choices and my bad decisions. And I always said, well, my intentions were good, but what happened was I never planned. I always had great intentions, but I would overpromise, underdeliver. I wanted to start these businesses and they wouldn't work out. And, I've got business partners and I'm like, well, you don't have kids. I've got kids. So I'm justifying why I need more of the money. And really, it's just bullshit because you're my partner, so it doesn't matter what the reason is. It's my choice. It's 50-50. So I would lose friendships. And now I see these posts that come on here, and it's very hateful. It's very spiteful. There's a lot of resentment out there towards me, and I'm okay with that. I understand there's people out there that are never, ever going to like Dan Wise again, no matter what I do. And I'm not here to try to make people like me. When you tell somebody you're sorry, and one of the things that you're going to do when you're in prison, especially if you go into RDAP, is you're going to be writing letters to people that you've hurt in your life. You're going to write letters of why you're sorry, expressing what you've done is wrong. But what gets hard is you're hoping that they respond to going, hey, I forgive you. And that's great if that happens. But your letter, you shouldn't be saying sorry because you're expecting somebody to forgive you. I can tell you I'm sorry. That doesn't mean you have to forgive me. But I'm clearing my conscience. That's all you're doing, is you're clearing out your baggage. You're blowing your nose. You're getting rid of the poison and the pus that's in your mind that's not allowing you to move forward because of this guilt that you might be carrying around for people that you've wronged in your life. We can't force people to feel a certain way. I can't force my ex-wife to completely ever forgive me. I can't force my children to completely ever forgive me. I can't force my ex-best friends in life, my ex-business partners, to forgive me for what I've put them through. The only thing I can do is express that I'm sorry and mean it and move on with my life by making better choices so I don't do that same type of thing to people in my future. That's what allows us to grow. If you're doing it just for the sole purpose of getting that person to take your apology and want to be your friend again, and if they respond going, that's great that you're sorry, but I still fucking hate your guts. If that's going to make you react like, well, fuck you then you're not doing it for the right reasons. You can't say sorry because you're demanding forgiveness. You're saying sorry because you're sorry, and whatever happens after that. It's out of your control. We talk about all the time that you should focus on what's in your control and not focus on what's out of your control. Focus on putting effort and work into your personal narratives. Focus on putting work into preparing for your pre-sentence report. Focus on putting work into going out in community service. Focus on building your relationships with your children, identifying as your friends and family as your victims. Because what will happen over time is you will find people that appreciate that. You will find relationships that are going to be able to build from that. And in some cases, you will be able to rebuild trust where trust has been lost. The people that are not going to forgive you, that's something they have to deal with. You cannot impose your beliefs onto somebody else, no matter whether you're right or wrong or indifferent. And that's where we get trapped in communication, is we argue points without hearing what the other person is saying. And it creates resentment. So there's a lot of people out there in my past that will post stuff now that my YouTube channel's gotten a little bit of traction. They either, for whatever reason, they just still hate me. They hate to see that my YouTube channel is up. They don't believe that I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. Whatever it is, they still feel the need. And they say hurtful, mean things with the intent of other people seeing it. So there's no need for that when I'm exposing my own wrongdoings without, I don't need somebody else to come on here and shame me for what I've done wrong. I know what I did was wrong. I understand that. I understand the relationships that I've hurt. So that's why I delete certain posts, because there's no need for it. There's no need to create that kind of ugliness. That's not what this channel is designed for. If you want to call me up and send me a personal email and tell me to go fucking jump off a cliff and slit my wrist, I'll appreciate that more than you trying to attack me through you guys who are taking a lot of value out of this. People and I believe people can change because I see the change in myself. If I wasn't able to change and didn't believe I was changing, then I might think this is all bullshit. But I love what I do. I love helping people. That was a rant. That was a good rant. Well, we got 16 people watching, so you must be enjoying my rant. Who's missed me sipping coffee? Where's our I hate the way you sip coffee guy? I forgot who he was, but this is for you, Mr. I hate sip coffee guy. Black coffee. I've gotten used to it. Again, look at Einstein. He is one ugly dog. You are so ugly, Einstein. I'm going to take Einstein to the pound and give him away after this. You want to go to the pound? You want to go pee-pee outside? You want to get a biscuit? He's got the stinkiest breath. He needs to go to the dentist and get some bad teeth pulled. Well, thank you. There's Pockets. What's going on, Empty Pockets? Tomorrow, rant on. Tomorrow likes my rants. So I was supposed to have Hunter Moore on again. Hunter Moore, if you're watching this, dude, I'm going to come to California and find your ass. He keeps incognitoing me. I know he's busy and got a lot of things going on, but he doesn't give me a call. Hunter Moore, I'd appreciate it. I'm putting you on blast. If you say you want to do an interview with me, let's get this thing going, man. If you don't want, and I understand if you don't want to do it too. You know, you're on probation and stuff, and you got things you're trying. Oh, what are you doing, Einstein? Einstein, what are you doing? Are you playing? What are you doing? He likes to play sometimes. But yeah, so supposed to have an interview with Hunter Moore today. And then on my timeline on Facebook, it said 1 year ago today. And it had my video of me and my kids. And I was like, fuck, that would be a really good video for last minute when I wasn't planned because Hunter Moore bailed on me 3rd time in a row. So hopefully we will have a future video with Hunter Moore, guys. No promises. But either way, he's got a hell of an interesting story. And I would love to share it with you guys on YouTube. Been trying to do some stuff with Joe. Not so sure how that's going. Not sure if Joe and I are going to be able to see eye to eye on what we want to try to do together. After Prison Show I'm referring to. I still love his channel. Still think what he's doing is great stuff. I think the fact that he's been able to turn his life around and do such positive things and have such, 500,000 subscribers. God, what I would give for just a percentage of that. But no, for real. Joe's doing really good things over at APS, and he's continuing to grow. He's taking his channel in new directions. His content's getting better. The whole process, as you guys know, that are After Prison Show fans, he's just really doing a really, really good job with everything that he's doing. And there are some amazing things that I feel like Joe would be able to work on with me that aren't just going to benefit me, that would benefit both of us, being that our backgrounds are similar in where we came from. But I don't know if we're going to be able to see eye to eye on things. You know, not everybody's going to agree, but we can't agree to disagree, and I can still love him for what he's doing and have nothing but mad respect for him. Mr. Maryk, any plans to do lectures in schools? You have a great story. Yes, that's why I was at Gonzaga University yesterday. And for those of you that don't know who Gonzaga is, I'm sure you all do, being they almost won the fucking college basketball championship this last year. But yes, I am going to be planning on doing some lectures at schools, telling my story. Not just my story, but your story. Because my story has become your story, and I've become a voice for so many of you to speak out about what's going on in your lives. We've done stories where we've had you guys on here live. We've done incognito stories where some of you needed to maintain privacy, and we've done stories with sex offenders on what they're doing to try to work through their struggle, and that has always been a taboo subject out in the world, and it's always going to be a taboo subject. But if we're going to be open and honest and fair that people deserve second chances, we can't pick and choose who deserves a second chance. We can't pick and choose which crimes are worse. If somebody's got if your crime is bad enough, there's no release date. And that's telling you right there that, hey, your crime is severe enough to never release you from prison again. If the federal system or the state system is deciding at some point you deserve a release date, that means the government is deeming you deserve a second chance. So the only way we can give people the proper ability to have a second chance is really not be so jaded in how we view things and focus more on what can we do to help people rehabilitate. So that's why Federal Prison Time with rdapdan has decided to not publicly assassinate anybody for their crime, because if I did, it makes me no better than anybody else. He's got Cody that makes APS work. APS is more of entertainment. APS is more of entertainment, but I've had conversations with Joe. He does have some visions of what he would really like to do with that channel that is more along the lines of some of the things that I'm going to be doing in the future. And I think Joe and I working together would be a very, very deadly combination in the industry and in the space. There really isn't anybody else that I would have interest. Joe's already got the charisma. there's a little bit of going into a different direction that I think would not separate direction. Joe's always going to do what he's doing because it works for him. He's got a massive following, but there is a very large untapped market that we're going to be heading into in 2018 that we're not going to talk about just yet, that Joe would be a great asset to, a combination. I cuss a lot, was worried about that. What, for prison? Hey Dan, I would like to do a video with you. Can't show my face though. Source irrelevant, man. Send me a text message and we can talk, get into a little bit more detail about your story. And that's absolutely stuff that I'm not here to make somebody put themselves out there. Just like we did the voice interview the other day with what do you call it? The spice and bath salts man. That's somebody that, because of what he wants to do after prison and his career choices, he doesn't want to make this too public with his name attached to it, but he wanted to share his story. Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. Dr. Drew, Hunter Moore was on Dr. Drew, if you guys don't know that already. I had a whole video set up to do with Hunter Moore the other day. See my prior comments? I see that you said you cuss a lot, but you're talking about something beyond that. Let me go back up. Oh. I don't know why it blocked that for some reason. Can you curse in RDAP? Say fuck a lot? Not really. They call it loaded words. Any word that you use as a loaded word, it could be a hurtful word. It doesn't have to be a curse word. It could be like, you're so stupid. That would be considered loaded words, and you'll get pulled up for that. You tell somebody to go fuck off, you're going to get pulled up for loaded words and using power orientation. Assuming assuming aggressive behavior against somebody. So you will have to work on that for sure. Spice and bath salts, man. I'd hate that nickname too. Yeah, absolutely. So that's why, being that he's going to law school. I'm sorry, is going to become a doctor. His wife is becoming an accountant. So he really is turning his life around. And these are things that could affect him in his future. So that's why we decided to keep him anonymous. Now, not everybody needs to be anonymous. Putting a face to what's going on, it can also be very power orientation. Are you asking what power orientation is? It's basically when you're asserting power over somebody, making them feel weak. Like, let's say we're both in RDAP and we're deciding on what TV show we want to watch, and I get a little verbal with you, and I'm like, look, man, we're watching Love and Hip Hop because we watch it every Friday. If you don't like it, you can get the fuck out of the room. That's using. I'm now there's only one of two ways you're going to react to that. You're going to be like, okay, I'm getting out of here, or two, I'm not going to let anybody talk to me like that. So it can go in a bad direction. It could cause you to have a reaction. So that's considered power orientation. That's a version of power orientation. You'll learn several other versions of it going through RDAP. But when you allow yourself to act impulsively, getting things that you want could be considered power orientation or manipulation. The chemist. I haven't heard from him yet. I'm going to be talking to, because his wife is also going to prison. His wife goes, I think, in 2 weeks or 2 months. I forgot. But he hasn't sent me an email just yet showing dominance. Correct. Now, showing dominance doesn't necessarily have to be power orientation, because you can be dominant by nature. You can be influential showing dominance. You can be the person to be like, hey, when no one's making a decision, you might be the one to like, all right, what about this? So you can have a dominant presence versus being subservient. But you have to be careful of how you're doing it, and you're not forcing things on people, because then it can. And you're also learning all these new terms in RDAP with people that have never experienced any terminology in their life. So they're just running amok with a lot of this stuff, going, oh, you're using power orientation. They learned a new word, and they can't wait to like throw it at you. So you got to be careful and just take things really slow in RDAP. You know, and he very well might, but he's going to an easy prison. He's going to, I believe it's Taft. Taft is, look, if you're going to federal prison, a camp, and you're not looking to do RDAP, Taft is about as golden as it can get. Taft is not even really considered part of the federal prison system. It's like a private federal prison with different rules. It's basically, it is the country club of federal prison. So if anybody is going to get an easy go and be like, hey, prison wasn't that bad, Taft is where they're probably going to go. I went into prison very impulsive, very cocky, I had it all figured out. So, don't automatically assume that he's going to go in there. He might just go in there and learn. He might be, because I'll tell you, I had several conversations with him, and not several, but a few conversations in a very short amount of time. And he is very open he's very open to hearing what others have to say. So if he sticks with that and he goes into prison and he takes his time, and even if he, learns it the hard way, I think ultimately he'll be okay. I've definitely seen people that are way more cocky than him end up doing okay. Taft has no RDAP. Correct, no RDAP. But yes, the absolute easiest. What's worse, state or federal? I've never been to state, but what I've heard, if you're going to do time, you want to do fed time, is what I've heard. Typically, you can do less time in state, depending on if there's parole in that state, because you can do a large portion of your sentence on parole. But as far as better environment, better time, better food, from what I've heard, hands down, feds. So I would probably rather do my time in feds, I would imagine. A lot of prisons I've heard don't have ACs in the state, so it's just a different world. State is 1,000. Yeah, so that's what I would have guessed too. That's a good question for Joe. Joe did state time. Joe after prison show, Joe APS. He's done state time. So yeah, so hopefully we'll see. We'll see if Joe and I can come to eye and eye on some stuff in the future. But if not, hey man, there's other people out there that I do also want to work with that I'm going to be reaching out to. We've got a lot of stuff happening in 2018. Let's just kind of leave it at that. I'm going to take this to a different type of a level where it's not going to be so much about YouTube. YouTube will still illustrate and demonstrate a lot of the stuff that we are doing, but there's going to be a lot of outside content and a lot of outside video taking place that you guys are going to want to keep an eye out for, because everything is based on helping those going in, helping those getting out. And it's funny, I sent a message, and I don't know if I'm going to get a response or not. I sent a message to the lead DEA agent that was on my case. He's since retired, and I found him online, found him on Facebook, and sent him a message. And I'm not sure if he gets a lot of messages from people that get out of prison or not, because the typical thought process for a lot of people after prison is still, if the feds, the government, the cops, whatever, are still the enemy, and there's still that unspoken battle there. And I really appreciate what my life has become because of what the intervention of me going to prison has forced me to look at. And if it wasn't for this DEA agent, if it wasn't for the U.S. attorney, and if it wasn't for the prosecutors and federal system and the judge and RDAP, if it wasn't for all of these people that are supposed to be my enemies, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I have no ill wills towards this man at all. And I sent him a very nice message letting him know that him just doing his job has had such an influence on who I've become to today that these people for the rest of my life will stick out in my mind. And what's weird about it is there's that, I remember, oh man, it's really snowing. Let's see if I can show you guys this. We got some snowfall. For those of you that live in hot states, let's bring this camera over here and see if we can't get a view. Can you guys see that? It's about as close as I can get without unplugging the camera. So it's pretty to look at the snow. But yeah, so, but man, it's really snowing. It's like I want to go outside and catch snowflakes in my mouth. But you know, so it was just a weird. You know, I sent my prosecutor, the guy that prosecuted me. I sent him a nice email. I found his information, his email, his you know, his, not his personal email, but his BOP email through Pacer, which is, you know, public information. So I sent him a nice email. Never got, and I don't need that's the thing, is like we were talking about earlier, is you're saying things to somebody because it makes you feel good, or you're doing it for yourself. I sent the DEA agent, on the retired DEA agent on my case, a message because I wanted to express that he has had an impact, a positive impact on my life. And I'm sure he doesn't get messages like that a lot, I assume. So regardless whether, and I don't get me wrong, I do hope he responds in a positive way. But if he doesn't, I understand that. He might be like, hey, this is weird, this is creepy, I got to go into hiding. But at the same time, you know, I didn't say anything bad. I wasn't mean to him. And I have an appreciation for where my life has gone because of what I've been through. Would I ever be willing to work with Big Herc? I mean, yeah. You know, I've sent many messages to Big Herc and never got a response from him in the past. So, you know, I don't know. Is Big Herc willing to work with me? That's the real question. I'm willing to work with anybody that's trying to do things for the right reason. Anybody. Anybody that has, you got to have something to, you know, if anybody has something to offer, something to bring to the table. I don't mean money. It could be money, but I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about if you have something to contribute, if you have a plan, if you're like, hey, I'm working on this, I'd like to include you, or I'm working on this, I would like to include you. It just depends. There's got to be a chemistry there that we can work on to see where it can go. Not everybody's going to be a good fit. It means a lot when you tell someone they made a difference in your life. What's up, Jay? Hey, Dan, I'm getting sentenced today. What do you mean you're getting sentenced? Oh, Tuesday. I thought you said today. Sorry, the screen. My eye. Maybe I need glasses at 40. Do I need glasses? I'm about to take an eye test. I don't think I need glasses. I'm in denial. So, yeah, so Jay, you're getting sent. Okay, so for those of you that haven't been following Jay, Jay was the one that was supposed to get sentenced a couple months ago. And the judge refused to send him to prison because he doesn't really think he deserves to go to prison because of all of the work and effort that he's been doing to undo what he did. And I'm telling you, Jay's a client of ours, and it has to do with the preparation that Jay has put forth. You know how I know that people don't put enough value in what we do is everybody knows they have to hire an attorney, and they'll do whatever means necessary to hire an attorney. If they really truly wanted to put themselves in the best situation, they would also do what is ever necessary to align themselves with a prison consultant, because a prison consultant that has your interest at heart is going to intensify the best possible outcome, and the chances of you getting a shorter, reduced, probated sentence becomes a much likelier possibility than if you don't. So when you look at the reasons why you're hiring an attorney, those should be the same reasons why you're hiring a prison consultant, because those two go hand in hand. And that's really why we want to go speak to Gonzaga and explain to them on why attorneys should be taking additional interest, not just the basics. Source irrelevant. Just be patient. You're on something. Jay, they can only be a good thing. What are we talking about, Source? You're on something? He would pimp me out. Yeah, you know, Big Herc, he's got his own. Look, Big Herc, that might be a character for all we know. That could just be a character that Big Herc plays on YouTube because it's an interesting character. You know, he has great conversations, great topics. He does a good job with his videos. everybody's got a different purpose and why they do things. And, I didn't like the one video he did, and I told him about it because I just felt it was done in bad taste, and it kind of gave like a stigma to how it all works, and it's not so black and white like that. So that was why I did what I did. All right, guys, I've been going now an hour and 20 minutes. This is way long. I'm probably, just so you guys know, I'm probably going to start cutting down the videos on time-wise. I'm thinking going into next week, we're going to try doing no longer than 30-minute videos because we want as many people as possible to watch these videos, right? Because we want to share the information. And I can say everything I just said today. I can say it in 30 minutes. We just don't get to have all of the extra fun conversation. So I am going to try to start toning these videos down to about 30 minutes for people that are coming after us that see, oh, this is the hour and 20-minute video, next. Because we want people to be able to get this information that need it. So we don't all have the time to watch an hour and 20 minutes of a video. So that's what we're going to focus on coming up here in the next week or so. All right, guys. Hopefully you took some value from this. If you've got kids, try to have a conversation with them. Try your hardest to be as honest as possible. Tell them what's going on. Tell them how much time you might be looking at. The more notice you give them, the better, because realize they're probably not going to process it ASAP, and you want to be there when they do process it. If they do have a meltdown, if they do start acting out, you want to be there to be able to try to coach them through this. It's easier while you're out than it is while you're in. So the more time you give them, the more likely you'll be there while they deal with it in the reality. Other than that, look, guys, freedom is a blessing. Just realize you're getting ready to go to prison for some of you. There will be an out date. You will be here again. We've got amazing people in this channel. We had Todd Hansen's wife, Diana. She joined us today. Todd's been with us from the beginning. He's still there in spirit. So we'll give Todd a nice email today and see how he's doing. Nobody watches repeat game. Want the highlights. So anyway, have a great weekend. Go out and do something positive. Focus on what you got to be doing. Don't dwell on the negativity. Start working on your personal narratives, your character reference letters. Know what's going to happen during your pre-sentence report. If you need help, pick up the phone. I'm a phone call away, 509-434-4695. It's on the screen. Don't forget to text the word YouTube to 35074 if you have not already done so. And please subscribe, like, and share this channel. Get it out there into people. If you have attorneys, tell your attorneys, hey, we got a prison consultant here that is not like the rest. I really think you should take a look at his videos because it will help not just me, but it'll help all your other clients that are coming in behind me. Let's share the information. Every day, people helping people one day at a time. Community as method. I love every single one of you, and I will see you guys Monday. Next Wednesday, we're going to be interviewing a gentleman that runs an awesome podcast about reentry. He also has a podcast on basically trying to change policy and law, and I'm going to be on his podcast on Tuesday. So I will give you guys a link to that when I know more. And it's really snowing. I'm going to go build a fucking snowman. You guys have a great weekend. Love every single one of you. Peace.